checkered flag, checkered flag.
The desert is done. A charged wind blows our heroes west. Rising from the waves, battle worn and weary. But the fight is not over. A new challenge awaits. The ocean. A demanding trial that will test every ounce of courage, determination, and commitment. Full focus, full send. The ocean takes no prisoners. The earth will shake, waves devour, as they race for more than glory. The next chapter of this electric odyssey will be written here, on African shores.
Hello and a very warm welcome to West Africa and the Ocean X Prix, the second event in the very first season of a brand new sport, Extreme E, a racing series for state-of-the-art electric SUVs. I'm Andrew Coley and I'm joined in the commentary box here by Jenny Gow.
Thanks, Andrew, and it's all happening here on the beautiful Atlantic coast of Senegal. About 40 kilometres northeast of the capital city, Dakar, a place, of course, that knows a thing or two about motorsport.
It does indeed, but if this is your first time to motorsport or your first time to Extreme E, quick refresher course I think is in order since the first event in Saudi Arabia back in April. Here is what it's all about.
Earth, a planet in perfect balance, providing life across 7 continents, from the biodiverse rainforests to the deepest parts of our oceans. But this existence is at threat. Humans are pumping dangerous levels of carbon into the atmosphere, causing the planet's temperature to rise. In the last decade, we have been witness to the hottest temperatures ever recorded, and huge parts of our ice caps are melting into the ocean, disrupting the ecosystem, threatening our way of life.
The consequences of climate change are affecting millions of people across the planet.
Cities worldwide, everywhere, are going to become uninhabitable.
Our planet is heading towards a climate disaster that threatens all life on Earth as we know it.
We have to act now to make those changes.
Extreme E will bring together the fastest drivers on 4 wheels, in fully electric racing off-road SUVs, to some of the most remote and damaged areas on Earth, raising awareness of the environment, electrification and equality.
I have an impossible dream, to race electric cars in the most remote corners of the planet. I know, without leaving a trace.
The X Prix will be held across 5 countries, each highlighting a major environmental global issue. From the polluted ocean of Senegal, melting ice caps of Greenland, diminishing rainforests of the Amazon, retreating glaciers of Patagonia, to rapidly heating deserts of Saudi Arabia, using the power of sport to highlight the effects human impact is having on our world.
I think it's really important to immerse yourself in those areas and see what's happening with climate change so we can really increase awareness, and from awareness we can have more people taking more actions.
To tackle these demanding locations requires one of the most robust racing cars ever built, the Odyssey 21. This purpose-designed all-electric machine is constructed using cutting-edge environmental technologies and materials. The battery will be charged using a hydrogen fuel cell, producing clean, emission-free energy. Behind the wheel and running the teams of these off-road machines will be some of the biggest names in racing.
The car feels insane.
It's amazing how much torque you have to have immediate power when you touch the throttle pedal.
The drivers, they didn't know what to expect and they were blown away. That's probably the biggest shock, is just how much torque you're able to get.
And marking an historic first for international motorsport, the driver lineup will be equally split, 50% male, 50% female.
The level of competition is going to be insane.
Teams will go wheel to wheel on the most extreme terrains, in the most extreme temperatures, driving the most extreme vehicles.
Extreme E takes racing to uncharted territories by bringing the action to some of the most remote locations, all of which are suffering from the destruction of our environment.
But there is more to this than flat-out racing. A team of industry-leading scientists have joined our race for a greener future to provide unrivaled insights into the regions where we compete, guaranteeing we race without a trace. When the checkered flag falls, our legacy programs will ensure that Extreme E leaves a lasting difference in each and every location.
We want to bring awareness, we want to showcase electric cars, and we want to leave behind a legacy linked to climate change and to pollution.
Wouldn't it be great to be a part of something that really does make a difference?
This is fierce and exciting racing with the future of our planet at its heart. This is the greatest adventure of our time. This is Extreme E.
The course here in Senegal is incredibly demanding, a real roller coaster, bumps, jumps, very, very technical.
And the 9 teams only had a couple of laps in free practice and shakedown before they hit yesterday's qualifying. The session didn't disappoint.
Day 1 saw qualifying get underway for round 2 of Extreme E on the coast of Africa. What a stunning backdrop. Johan Christophersen for Rosberg Extreme Racing, hoping to find the pace that he and Molly Taylor had in Saudi Arabia. They'd won almost every session out there, bar a penalty for the switch zone. No problems in the switch zone this time, but they couldn't find the ultimate pace that they had before. They ended the session 3rd. Not too bad, but not where they want to be. A better start to the weekend for Veloce Racing. Last time out, Sarazan had a huge crash. This time, Jamie Chadwick at least got some seat time before handing over to the veteran of WEC, F1 and WRC. Good run by them for P6, a solid start to the weekend. Chip Ganassi Racing had a torrid time in Saudi Arabia. 2 crashes for this man, Carl Leduc, but he showed his class here on the beach in Senegal. Absolutely destroyed the rest of the pack in the final sector of the track. P2 for Leduc and Price. On to X44, Lewis Hamilton's Extreme E team, Sebastian Loeb, the 9-time World Rally Champion. Also, of course, the Dakar competitor was flat out, but it was his teammate, Cristina Gutierrez, who was super impressive on her lap in Q1. They went straight to the top of the timesheets. On to Q2, and RXR were looking for more pace. They made some settings changes to the car. It was a wild ride for Molly Taylor, and she, as she handed the car over to Christophersen, said, watch out for the kickers. They're really bad. Christophersen committed in the last part of the lap. They ended P2 overall. Chip Ganassi Racing, so much promise from them in that first session. Carl Leduc again was flying, green sectors everywhere, and then the car ground to a halt. Desperate times as he tried to get it running again. They lost more than 3 minutes. In the end, he did manage to get the car back for his teammate Sarah Price, but they lost so much time they ended up down in P7. No such problems for X44, another stunning run by Gutierrez and Loeb. Super quick, looking unstoppable out in the dunes, particularly with the issues for some of the other front runners. They would win both sessions of qualifying here, and crossing the finish line, it will see them take the top qualifier spot for the 2nd round in a row. Fantastic performance by both Loeb and Gutierrez. Confirmation then of the results here at the end of qualifying. Loeb and Gutierrez at the top of the table for X44, Christophersen, Taylor, then Ekstrom and Kleinsmith. P4, 5 and 6 go into semi-final 2, 7, 8 and 9 into the shootout.
Well, Extreme E scientists are keen to foster a better understanding of the dangers that climate change poses to our oceans and then to us. Here's Dr. Lucy Woodall to explain a little bit more about Extreme E.
The ocean is vitally important for us as humans and, in fact, the planet as a whole. So the increase of greenhouse gases in the atmosphere and the increase of temperature and climate change has multiple different consequences in the ocean. So we have sea level rise, which means our coastal areas are being flooded by salty water. We have additional storms and increased intensity of those storms. But we also have a really direct impact. Poorly managed fisheries has really dramatic impacts on the ocean. Each of those having their unique consequences on the life in and around the ocean. If things continue as they are, by the start of the next century, sea level will have risen over 1 metre. Sea level rise comes from 2 parts: the melting of the ice and the thermal expansion of the ocean water. So as air temperature rises, so does the ocean, and as the water warms, it expands, and this creates an additional sea level rise. With just a 3 degrees temperature rise, by 2100, the Greenland ice sheet will have melted, and that will contribute about 9 centimetres to sea level. The additional melt from glaciers will contribute about 19 centimetres to sea level, but thermal expansion will contribute an additional 40 centimetres. The additional sea level rise is going to cause massive consequences to communities across the planet. So we would expect flooding and even whole communities and towns to disappear. If we can keep temperature rise to about 1.5 degrees, then we can limit the sea level rise to about 1/3 of the current predictions. This is going to have a massive impact, and although it's going to be difficult, but will be managed much more effectively than if we do nothing. So now we need to listen to the ocean and communities that rely on it and be able to put our ingenuity into making sure that we can come up with solutions that work for us now, but critically for our future generations.
Well, we are, of course, in Senegal for round 2 of Extreme E, but let's take a look at the entire season's calendar, where we've been and where we are headed. We start in Al Ula, Saudi Arabia, for a proper desert epic. The backdrop this time is the beach. We've got a beach straight in Senegal, a roller coaster through the sand dunes along the back of Lac Rose as well, highlighting rising sea levels and ocean plastic issues as well, of course. After that, we are going to be heading to Kangalusak in Greenland in August, then Santarém, Para, Brazil in October, and finishing the season at Tierra del Fuego in Argentina. Jenny, what incredible places we're getting to visit with this series. Can't wait to see the backdrops for the next tracks.
I know, it's a fascinating kind of tour of the world and some of the most endangered spots that we go there and see. And Senegal, West Africa, one of those places. Now, Extreme E's joined forces with the Count Us In programme, which aims to mobilise 1 billion people to act on climate change. It's all about inspiring Extreme E fans to take practical steps to reduce their own carbon footprint. So that's what we're working towards, with a bit more cycling, walking, and these are the standings at the moment. So you can see X44 Lewis Hamilton's team are leading the Count Us In challenge with 78 steps. Then it's Rosberg's team on 74, going down to Jenson Button's on 33. So those are the standings at the moment.
Well, I think it's about time we took a closer look at some of the technology behind Extreme. What is going on under the bonnet of the Odyssey 21? Extreme E's revolutionary electric SUV, the Odyssey 21, is designed to take on perhaps the toughest challenge in motorsport. The all-electric machine will race across and through mud, sand, rock, water and snow. From the heat and humidity of the desert and tropical rainforests to Arctic tundra and glacial base. The Odyssey 21 is an outstanding feat of racing technology. The car's battery, produced by Williams Advanced Engineering, stores 40 kilowatt hours of usable energy. To put that into perspective, the stored energy of this device could keep 2,600 phones charged for a week. The equivalent of a 550 horsepower combustion engine, it's capable of creating 1,000 Newton meters of torque. The Odyssey 21 is equipped with dual motors, feeding the front and rear axles independently. The driver can move the torque balance between the motors directly from the cockpit. This allows them to maximize energy efficiency to the wheels, depending on factors like speed, grip and terrain. The chassis, crash structure and roll cage are all manufactured using a niobium reinforced steel alloy tubular frame. This provides strength and flexibility under the most diverse set of racing conditions in motorsport. The bodywork is made from a high-performance natural flax fibre composite, which is not only a renewable CO2 neutral material, but also lightweight and durable. Large ventilated disc brakes are responsible for slowing and stopping the car, while the huge dampers of the suspension system are designed to absorb the impacts of the varied environments it will race upon, and can be adjusted to suit conditions. The all-purpose multi-versatile tyres designed by Continental will provide unrivaled grip on ice, sand, rock and mud. They are the most durable tyre ever made in their class and will provide racing performance on challenging terrains. The Odyssey 21 is built to deliver unparalleled performance as sustainably as possible in the most extreme environments.
Well, let's take you through the draw, the starting grid positions here, because it's going to be a fascinating decision of what happens next. So we have in grid 1, we have Rosberg Racing. 2, it's X44 and the App Cooper team taking grid slot 3. Now, Andrew, we've had a look at that, and actually talking to the teams, they don't think there's too much difference in the gate numbers that they choose.
No, certainly. From a grid point of view, if you're on the inside and you win the start, then yeah, you can push the pack wide. But actually, pushing the pack wide might be playing into their hands. The drivers that are sitting out in slot number 3 are looking to drop down on the beach. Look here where the tyre tracks head down. That damp sand has great traction and it's really flat and smooth. So could you maybe go round the outside on the run to turn 1?
It's going to be fascinating to see. We love a start the first time. The cars will go out in anger. Let's take a look then at this course. It's a stunning 6.1 kilometres.
Let's take a look at the course then for round 2 of Extreme E. We come off the start line and straight onto the beach. Absolutely stunning along the Atlantic coast, close to Lac Rose in Senegal. Down here, the drivers are going to be looking at, is the sand smoother, closer to the water's edge? It's bumpier and deeper up closer to the undergrowth. Then up towards the cut. This is the first significant corner. It's slow and tight. This is a much more technical circuit than we saw last time out in Saudi Arabia. Around to the left, we've got option lines here. There's one on the left and one on the right. The left line gives you the quicker turn into this right-hander, and then we head across towards the moguls. This is the section of track which caused the most issues for the drivers in free practice. Bumpier than they thought. There's time to be gained here by taking risks, but it's very much about risk management. If you look at what happened to Veloce and to Abt Cooper with big crashes, also Segi Chip Ganassi back in Saudi Arabia, you've really got to pick your moments to push. This section here through the woods is not a moment to push. It's very narrow, and we expect the track there to break up and to be particularly bumpy. Now we've got another section with alternate lines, left and right. Many more alternate lines than we saw at round 1. That should give us opportunities for overtaking once we get to the racing portion of the weekend. Some big crest dips as we cross towards the dunes section. Deep sand here, some undergrowth as well. There's time to be picked up, but it's hard to know where. A right-hander and then a left, and we're now heading back towards the beach and a run down towards the switch zone or the finish line. The left and the long right-hander here. We've seen drivers drop down all the way, almost into the ocean, to try and find that flat sand and gun it all the way to the line. 6,185 metres for a lap. We're expecting lap times in the region of 5 to 6 minutes. A fantastic challenge for round 2 of Extreme E.
So it is time. We have reached the moment of the weekend where we start our semi-final racing. The prize, a place in the big final later on today and a chance to claim only the 2nd ever Extreme E win. Button, Rosberg, Hamilton, their team's all there. Let's take a deep breath and find out a little bit more.
Well, there is the St Helena, the virtual St Helena, off the coast of Lac Rose in Senegal. We're having a little fly-in over the track here, Beach Straight, Jenny. I think Beach Straight might be my favourite point of the circuits we've been to so far. Saudi Arabia was awesome, but a straight on the beach looks good to me. Kind of looking forward to seeing what we're going to come up with for the rest of the season as well. But that is the track on which we are about to do battle. Let's take a look and see who's made it through to the semis. So semi-final number 1, Johan Kristoffersen and Molly Taylor for RXR. They won the first round, of course. Sebastian Loeb and Cristina Gutierrez for X44. Top qualifiers here. They were brilliant yesterday. And Matthias Ekstrom and Jutta Kleinsmith. Jutta Kleinsmith won the Dakar here 20 years ago. Can she get that car through to the final with Ekstrom and repeat the glory?
We are on the Prix grid of the Ocean X Prix on the beaches of Senegal, and on my left is Johan Christophersen of Rosberg X Racing, three-time World Rallycross champion, looking very relaxed ahead of your semi-final one. I know you have a very calculated mind. How much of this race is pre-planned versus going with the flow while you're out there?
I think, you know, you have some plan, but the plan is not like executing exactly like this and this. It's more of a plan of different scenarios, let's say. And then, let's see. I think after T2 it's going to be difficult to do overtakings on Matthias or Sebastian. Both are very fast, so, but let's see. I'll do my best and we see how it goes.
We've seen that the hyperdrive use has been very interesting. Are you planning on using that on the beach straight?
Yeah.
Why? Tell me why.
I think that's the best place to use it. It's going to be very important going into T2, so I'm pretty sure all three cars in the semi-final will use it at one point from the start towards T2. It's just about when you use it.
We noticed that the track changes and evolves quite a lot. Have you noticed any development change from yesterday on the track?
Yeah, it does. But most of all now, importantly, the water is much higher now in the morning compared to the afternoon. So the drag race down to T2 is much narrower than it is in the afternoon. So track position is going to be important early on.
And you're racing against two other world champions. How competitive is Extreme?
It's extremely competitive. I think you can put any of the other drivers alongside and they will be as hard as Matthias and Seb. So, but I cannot do anything else than just my best.
We're looking forward to watching you race. Thank you.
Thank you.
So Christophersen saying that the tide is in, which is an awesome thing to make a difference to the track, isn't it? And that might affect things down towards turn one. We're hearing, aren't we, that some of the drivers might drop from that P3 position out onto the damper sand sooner and see if they can get the traction. Once you've got the traction, Johan making it clear, there's only one place to use the hyperdrive. They're all going to be looking to try and get to turn one first of all.
Yeah, this is going to be good stuff. Let's have a look then at the track and the course that they're going to be tackling. So we've just seen the start and finish straight. So then they're going to go around there and along the Atlantic. Very long, isn't it, that straight?
It is, and that's why hyperdrive is so important there. Last time out, if you remember, Sarah Price used her hyperdrive off the line. Ekstrom then used it later in Saudi away from the line, and he out-dragged her. So she popped the start, he dragged back past her again. It's really important to wait until you've got the traction to do that. Turn one really is 100 metres off the start. It's the right-hander onto the straight. If the inside car gets a good enough start to block everyone off, then in theory, they'll get to the cut first of all. If not, you know, we could be looking at a mega braking zone fight into the cut, and it's pretty narrow there if you remember the step up onto the beach and then into the moguls, Jenny.
Yeah, so this section is really technical, tight, twisty. You've got lots of bumps, and it's going to be very difficult to try and overtake there to find a different line. If you do try and find that different line, the chances are those are going to be very drastic different lines. It's going to take someone with a lot of confidence as we go through the woods and then along the back straight to actually do it. The back straight, I think, is another opportunity where people could think, okay, I can go for it. I'll take a different line and try and overtake.
There are definitely a couple of lines through there. I think the issue that they'll have with regard to passing is what the driver said yesterday. There's one ultimate fast line, and that's what we saw them all taking during qualifying. But if you can get a nose alongside somebody in a braking zone, you're not going to give them contact on purpose, but if you can get in their door and let them know you're there, if you can make a driver drive on their mirrors and they make a mistake, you might find a door open. I think you're going to have to force the door open. I think we could see some forceful passing. Got the switch, of course. The time for the switch has gone back up to 45 seconds to ensure that the drivers have safely got their belts and everything on and the HANS devices in place. You know, after we saw contact, of course, last time out in the shootout between Kyle Leduc and Claudia Hurtgen. So, you know, there's always a chance that there's going to be an incident. I think there's more chances of incidents with more cars on track. Not so much dust here. Really hoping we're going to see some great racing.
Worth pointing out, the format has changed slightly for this weekend. So we have semi-final 1, 2 cars go through into the final. Semi-final 2, 2 cars again go through to the final. So it's a 4-car final, and then the shootout really is for points today for the 3 teams that haven't managed to qualify into the semi-finals. They'll just try and do the best they can to collect as many points as they can. So grid position wise, let's run you through that, because Rosberg X Racing, we've already heard from Christophersen, looking so relaxed by the way. They'll start grid slot 1 Grid slot 2 will be X44 with Sebastian Loeb in the car first, and then Abt Cupra XC will start in grid slot 3, the one closest to the sea, Matthias Ekstrom in the car there.
Yeah, Ekstrom has already indicated that he thinks a run out onto that damp sand would be a good move. The sand here is really deep. I actually think the sand here is deeper than it was off the start line in Saudi Arabia, and we've seen people during free practice particularly stopping several times on the beach, and they were then rolling the throttle on to try and find the traction from the Continental tyres off the line. And we've seen other people just gunning the throttle as hard as they can and just letting the wheel spin, dig in, back end of the car, sits down and see if you can find the traction that way. Be interesting to see who gets away first.
Just look at the angles that they've put their cars at. This is very deliberate. As you can see, starting grid first, Loeb, Gutierrez. Second, Christopherson and Taylor. Third, Ekstrom and Kleinschmidt. That's how it will line up. And yeah, that's a deliberate positioning of those cars, isn't it? You could see when we had a look at Christopherson's car pointing kind of in. He doesn't want to clip the first gate, which is tight right, isn't it?
They don't want to apply, they want to apply as little steering as possible away from the line. So the car will generate the most traction if all four wheels are facing forward. The second you start putting steering inputs in there, you're getting rotation on the car, you're making the differentials work a bit harder, getting a bit techie. But basically, you want to be as straight as possible off the line, Jenny, and that's why Rosberg Racing have faced the car onto the line they want to be on. You know, he's making it pretty clear, isn't he, to X44, I am coming across to shut the door.
And I'm sure X44 will make it clear that they're just going to squeeze them in a little bit.
So Sebastian Loeb's teammate Cristina Gutierrez is down there waiting for her drive. We can go and have a chat with her now.
3 minutes. Cristina, your teammate is there on the start line, ready to go. How are you feeling?
A little bit nervous, but it's a difficult semi-final because we are the best driver in the qualification, so it's not easy. So we'll see. It's difficult, but not impossible.
Yesterday, you both had phenomenal performances. Today, the track has changed a little different to yesterday. Have you gone out and had a look at how the changes are?
I don't know. I think the track is much more difficult than yesterday, so we need to stay with the calm and with not make a lot of mistakes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Lovely to hear from Cristina Gutierrez there. So the changes they're talking about is the evolution of this course, because the sands are ever shifting, as is time, and that means that as we've gone through the days, it does change because the sand builds up in different ways. The ridges, the ruts, they're really deep now.
Some of the crests have changed markedly if you look at them. So the crests have actually been knocked off the top. So where it was a pointed crest into a big dip, you've knocked the sand off the top and rounded off the crest, and that's actually then rounded off the dip as well as the sand has gone down. You see that particularly over gates 10 and 11 up at the back of the course. It's going to be tricky, whatever. You know, the bumps haven't completely flattened out, and I would argue the course is definitely slower than it was. There's the super sector, of course, which is in the middle of the track, which is where all the drivers can grab an extra 5 championship points if they set the fastest time in that sector. And Carlos Sainz really tried yesterday, Ginny, in the last run of Q2, and he couldn't do it. Yeah. So I think that the ultimate pace of the track has gone. But of course, it doesn't really matter now. It's the same for everyone. We're racing against cars, not against the clock.
Worth saying, this is 2 laps in the semi-final. So first driver goes off, then second driver, and the top 2 cars go 3. Let's go and hear from Jutta Kleinschmidt. She's down there.
Jutta, this has all been very last minute for you. We've seen you jump in as a reserve driver, and I've seen you just now with your eyes closed, taking a moment to focus. How is focus this morning?
I'm very excited for sure, because, you know, now we really have to fight to come into the final. And I'm hoping on Matthias.
Thank you very much.
And then after, when I jump into the car, I try to do my best and have fun.
Thank you.
So, the Ocean X Prix, the players are in place, the scene is set.
30 seconds.
30 seconds. Scott Elkins there, the man that you can hear counting us down. He is our race director. The excitement is starting to build, and the race is going to get underway very shortly.
Here we go then, semi-final number 1. 2 places up for grabs in the final. One of these teams is going to go home. They're the 3 strongest teams of the weekend, so it's a disaster. It really is for whichever one doesn't make it. waiting for a green light now. There are 14 World Championships across this grid. A lot of wheel spin on the inside line, a lot of wheel spin for all three cars. Ekstrom on the outside, Lissel got a good start. Kristoffersen gives Loeb a little nudge. Super tight in on that flag. Kristoffersen now coming up the inside of Loeb. This is where they're all going to try and engage the hyperdrive. Who has timed it right? You ride on board now. There, you hear the hyperdrive coming for Loeb. Going to gain some time on Kristoffersen. Outside line, Mattias Ekstrom looking for that damp sand and the grip. He's got the line to cut it across the other two. Loeb is now ahead of Kristoffersen. Kristoffersen moves out wide. Can't get the cut back like he did in Saudi Arabia. Watch for the nose of the cars to dip as they get on the brakes. Kristoffersen is way out wide. Look where Kristoffersen's line was. Going to try and carry the pace all the way from the beach up. Closes the gap down on Loeb. Looks to the inside line. He's trying the same move he got in Saudi. He's almost done it again. Loeb, though, now has the inside line for the left-hander. Kristoffersen shuts the door on him and gets into P2, but it's Ekstrom who leads.
What a fascinating start that was. The other teams will be watching on, trying to gain as much information, but this is where it gets tight and tricky. This is going to be the advantage for Ekstrom as he goes out there in the front. But look at Rosberg trying to close the gap back. That is Kristoffersen in the car, and he is giving it full beat. He knows he needs to not let that gap ease away. He can't let them get out of sight.
How did Kristoffersen manage that again? He was so wide on the short, Jenny, we couldn't see where he was. He was practically in the Atlantic. Popped the car back up over, but it gave him the line into turn 2. It was absolutely crucial. And at the moment, the top qualifiers, Loeb and Gutierrez, are down in P3. Into the drops now. We've got to see, this is the first time we're seeing if there's going to be somewhere where you can make a pass. They're so much closer than Saudi. Without the dust, they're able to run close to each other. This is not going to be over until we see the checkered flag.
No, there are so many pinch points on this course yesterday as well. Remember, this is the first time we're seeing 3 cars racing each other on this track. And the pinch points are where they're not going to be able to pass. But then you've got bits like this, the scrubland. Is there extra traction you can gain? The car's bouncing all over the place. Fabulous shots.
Looking in the background now, going into the woods, there won't be anywhere here that you can make the pass. Look, Kristoffersen is right on the back of Ekstrom. Loeb is there as well. Any issues for anybody, and he'll be through. The visibility's good. Look, he can run super close. It's this next section now, so it's this target's like a heads-up display, isn't it? Ekstrom here in front for Kristoffersen, over the tuft to the left-hand side. Now, this is the section, Jenny, where we think there might be some alternate lines. Can someone make a pass?
Yeah, this will be the one where I think they're just waiting, aren't they? They're biding their time. The moment's there. So you can see Loeb at the back. He needs to find some pace. Kristoffersen right behind Ekstrom, and they're looking to see, where can I make the move? Is this the moment that they try the alternate strategy? You can go left or right at some of these split sections.
Now, a lot of the teams yesterday were saying that Loeb's car looked really dialed over the bumps. Ekstrom has actually edged out a little bit of a gap through here. He's managed to pull just a few more car lengths. Loeb's car looks dialed over the bumps, and the other teams were scratching their heads about how they find those settings. They're not getting the kick from the rear. Loeb is closing the gap down on Kristoffersen, and as we say that, Kristoffersen's rear end kicks high in the air, but the 9-time World Rally Champion isn't close enough to capitalise.
Oh, the stability of these cars, you've got to dial it absolutely in. Over the course of the weekend, the setup is key, so we're coming down. As you can see, what a great shot that is. It shows how close the cars are. This is going to be a gallop down the beach straight, and this is where the switch could make a massive difference. Remember, these are the first drivers doing their lap. They're going to have to switch. Oh, look at that! What great shots!
Fantastic. Kristoffersen and Loeb hopping in the background past, but Ekstrom has this whole shot now. He's going to hand over to Jutta Kleinsmith. Kristoffersen going to hand over to Molly Taylor. Loeb to Christina Gutierrez. Going to be fascinating to see now as, oh, he's looking for a way through. Kristoffersen really moved himself, showed himself in the mirrors there for Ekstrom. Ekstrom's just got to keep this tight on the inside line. There'll be no way through, but he is right there. Sand in the cockpit for Loeb. So that may be through the air vents at the top of the car. There's ventilation to keep the drivers cool, and where he's been so close behind, there's sand pouring in.
Oh, look at that shot. Just in the middle, you can see how close they all are. The challenge, the concentration, the focus going in on this is fascinating to see. The drivers compared to each other, absolutely.
Brilliant. Love that split screen on board and off board as well. You can see the look on Ekstrom's face. It's full concentration.
Now, can they find more traction? This is the point where they're going to go into the switch zone, which is tight in on the right. They're going along the sea on the left-hand side. You can see the exact lines they're taking. They want to be on that really hard sand. Gives them more grip in the car and enables them to get some speed. You can see Ekstrom is absolutely pulling out of there. He is doing really well. They've got to nail this. They're breaking points.
They have. Certainly when they're running in a queue like this, Loeb almost picks up the back of Kristoffersen on the way in. Okay, so switch time now is up to 45 seconds. So I think all of these teams are well capable of getting that done quicker. We saw them yesterday. Most of these were waiting to be released. We saw some slow switches. 45 is plenty of time. Take a breath, get this right, get the other driver in, and give them the best chance. I think then, Jenny, it's going to be a hyperdrive race again down to turn 1, because we've seen passing is hard.
So you saw the first car in actually to stop was that of Kristoffersen. They were the first base, so this is going to be crucial to getting out. They must be first out. They've got to get past that 30-kilometre marker, and then they can go full speed again and maybe employ hyperdrive down that stretch. So all of the switches taking place. This is the first time we're seeing this weekend the switches. So you can see car door down on the Rosberg car first. Molly Taylor sitting there, strapping herself in, pulling it.
You can see in the background as well, Kristoffersen reached up and wiped the screen for her. They're doing the same in the background. They'll try not to use the wipers and potentially smear or scratch anything on. Remember, there's salt water in the air. If you've ever driven along the coast, you'll know that using the wipers, you can smear across the screen. They need the best visibility. They're all on board. They've all got it done in time. They'll be waiting to get released. Cannot waste a second. Kristoffersen gets away. Oh. What's happened? Come on, get going.
Oh, this is disaster
for
Jutta Kleinschmidt. She is the championship driver, a late replacement in, but let's see what happens. So they've lost places. She's so frustrated in that car, you can see right now. But what happens? So we have got Molly Taylor out in the lead. Behind her, Gutierrez.
Yeah, hyperdrive on straight away. You can see in the graphic at the bottom, Gutierrez lights hers up as well. They actually left the switch zone side by side. For whatever reason, Molly Taylor managed to get away just a couple of car lengths in front. And that's it. Okay, so now Gutierrez is going out wide. Is she going to take the Kristoffersen line? She's going to drop off the sand and see. They'll have watched that first lap, Jenny, from the command centre, but I don't think they're going to be quite close enough.
No, they don't need to go down as far as the first driver did, because they know that they're close. But look at this. This is so close, the racing. The sand kicking up, making it very difficult to get past at this point. But you can see Taylor is defending from Gutierrez, and Gutierrez trying to claw back.
Kleinschmidt so committed in the background. You saw her come off the beach. She was super committed, had the nose of the car buried. She's on the throttle again in the background. Going to get as close as she can to the back of this pack. We didn't manage to see any passes on the first lap, so it's going to be tricky. But what happened to Kleinschmidt in that switch zone? You could see she shook her head as she drove away. Ekstrom was waving. Gutierrez runs a bit wide, maybe looking to see if she can find a way through or get a bit better vision.
Now this is where it's going to be about pressure. Can you retain the pressure? Can you withstand the pressure of being out front? Are you going to make a mistake? Because you can bet your bottom dollar that Gutierrez will be there and she'll be pressuring. She'll be thinking, right, how can I force her into messing this up? Because she needs to find an opportunity. And is this the opportunity?
Or Molly Taylor getting a little bit wild on the way into the drops yesterday. She had a problem here, got the car sideways and had to get on the throttle and pull it out of an almost roll situation. Rear end of the car kicking up high. Kleinschmidt is trying so hard to close the gap down. I'm gutted for them, really, because Kleinschmidt's been a brilliant stand-in for Claudia Hürtgen this weekend. And remember, the bottom car from this semi-final doesn't go through. These are the 3 quickest cars. The semi-finals here, it's the 3 quickest in semi-1 and then 4 to 6 in semi-2.
Yeah, so you can tell that this is a pressure point for Kleinschmidt. Ekstrom did such a good job out the start of this, and then that switch zone, so important. The other drivers going into semi-final 2 will be looking at this, studying it, making notes, going, okay, this is what we need to do to make sure we can win this race, or at least attempt to. The gap closing down. You can see it's less than a second now between Taylor out front and Gutierrez in that Lewis Hamilton X44 car. She's looking for a way through.
The pace is so evenly matched. Where's Kleinschmidt gone? Has Kleinschmidt taken a completely different... I think Kleinschmidt's gone completely off-piste as she tried to find an alternate line there. I wasn't even sure if she'd made it through. It is very wide. Took an alternate line. Yeah, she did. Look how wide the flags are at that point. So that's the first time we've seen someone do that. Hasn't paid off, but worth the look, Jenny. You know, you've got to risk it, haven't you?
Absolutely. So this section is very important. It's quite flat. There's lots of terrain, different lines being taken. You can see the way they're both approaching it quite differently, but now they're following each other once again. Gap down to 0.71.
X44 machine just looks absolutely dialed. Gutierrez is able to take that bumpier line that the other cars don't seem able to. She closes the gap down a little bit now on Molly Taylor. Gutierrez is right there behind surely going to have a look to the inside here. Taylor moves across. Gutierrez moving out to the right now. It's just a little bit too narrow through here. I'm not sure they won't be able to find a way past here, but that X44 car looks fantastic over the bumps.
It certainly does, and you're just looking towards the car in front of you, trying to keep the gap there, trying to keep it as small as possible, trying to force the point. This is the moment we've seen other cars making up a huge amount of time. Yes, it's only one path, but you can try and ram it through and almost ignore the bumps.
Well, that's what Carl Leduc was doing yesterday, wasn't it? He was on a straight line. It looked like he was on the throttle and able to surf the top of the dunes. It was a brilliant drive from him all weekend. We're going to see him in the shootout. Can't wait to see that. But at the moment, it's looking tricky, isn't it? At Cupra with that brilliant start by Ekstrom and then dropping back. Real shame.
Real shame for them. So they're rounding this section. You can see Kleinschmidt just trying to get onto the back of the other two. At the moment, though, it is Molly Taylor who leads the way. Gutierrez in second place. The top two teams going through to the final. The sand flicking up as they head towards the sea approach. This will be their first chance to get a glance at the Atlantic now. Will we see some peculiar lines here? We could well do. You can see from on board in the Cupra car, the battle out front for those two places is fantastic. Do you need to even worry about being first? You can get through, and look how close they are into the sea. This is fantastic racing, fantastic technique. You can see Molly Taylor there just wringing the neck out of the Nico Rosberg car. She wants to finish in style, she wants to get the win, and it is once again another win for the Rosberg car. It is Molly Taylor who crosses the line. Congratulations to them, booking their place in the final and making history once again for Christopherson and Taylor.
Great drive by them. It's X44 who go through in P2. Gutierrez unable to make a pass. Kleinschmidt actually closed the gap down big time for P3, but whatever happened in the switch zone cost them a place in the final.
Oh, the frustration that Kleinschmidt must be feeling right now, and you could see her looking for all sorts of different options. She was trying different lines, ones that we've never seen taken before, but unfortunately she just couldn't claw back enough of that speed. So it is Taylor and Gutierrez who put their teams through for a place in the final. You could just see Molly just clenching her hands, relaxing, just taking a breath. She did it, and it was epic.
Yeah, puffed her cheeks out there, big relief. They didn't get what they wanted at the start. Christopherson, the only person to make a pass, end of the straight again.
Johan, congratulations, you're through to the final. Quite a battle in your lap, and it looked like the switch zone made quite a difference for you.
Yeah, it did. I think we didn't do the perfect one, but I think Abt had a little bit of an issue. I just spoke with Matthias, but yeah, we was just lucky about that. And then in the start, I don't know, we have to figure something out so I don't have to battle from the back every time, because it's not making life easier.
We saw you take that outside line early on to try perhaps make the same move that you did in Saudi. What happened there?
Yeah, I was just dead last, so I have to try something different. But yeah, from there on, I think I did the first part of it, but Molly definitely finished it off and drove so perfectly. I mean, just perfect, no big risks, and just yeah, did a great job. So very, very happy about Molly's drive.
Congratulations, we'll see you in the final.
Yeah, thank you.
Interesting. Christopherson's not happy with the start, Jenny. That's definite. We have to do something. I can't keep fighting back. So he's lost. If you think about it, in Saudi, he made a pass in the semi and the final, meaning they lost both the starts. He's lost the start again here. It was that brilliant and aggressive move at the end of the straight that got them into P2 and potentially got them through to the final. But he wants to get the starts dialed and not have to do that.
So let's take a look at your semi-final results. It was the Cupra coming in third place, 3.24 seconds behind. Loeb Gutierrez in second, and Christopherson and Taylor taking that win, fighting from the back when they took that start with a time of 11:05. So congratulations to our first two finalists going through. It will be the RXR and X44 teams. It was a grudge match in Formula One. It looks to be a grudge match in Extreme E2.
Let's take another look back at the start. So Christopherson on the inside, look, he gives a little nudge to X44 with Loeb at the wheel. Loeb squeezed him, he left him a car's width, which is gentlemanly of Loeb. Now for me, Christopherson has gone earlier here on the hyperdrive. Listen for Loeb, and you hear it come in. So Loeb's hyperdrive now, look, he out-drags Christopherson going later on the hyperdrive. outside the boat, Ekstrom has got a clear lead. But look at Kristoffersen here, Jenny. He goes so wide.
Yeah, very differing lines, almost clipping the flag, actually, and taking that run right down towards the sea for Kristoffersen, and then hopes to slingshot himself in off the Atlantic, taking a few bumps. And at that point, you can see what was going to happen. And I think the three of them were waiting to see how it would shuffle out, but that second gate is quite tight, so it means you can't do anything.
There's no way Loeb was expecting to see Kristoffersen come from there, was he? You know, he's gone so far off to the left-hand side, but that extra pace in again worked out perfectly. But it was a little bit of a risk to come in from that bump over the beach and get in there. Fantastic.
Wow, breathtaking stuff here in Senegal, right by the sea, but what a treat it is. I'm delighted that that first race was so good. Such a strategy, such a tactical sport.
Well, off the line at the start, it was a good start by Ekstrom on the outside. Just seemed to find a little bit more traction. It's only half a car's length, and Kristoffersen, look, is already one car back. He engaged his hyperdrive down the straight, but it was the move at the end of the straight. Look here, watch to the right-hand side of Loeb. Sand, 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 and hello, Kristoffersen, there you are.
Yeah, they had to go aggressive. He knew that. You can actually see them bumping. You can see the contact that was made. So it is an aggressive sport. It's a bumpy sport. You've got to be physically fit to do this. And this, the all-important switch. So you can see Ekstrom saying, go, go, go. And Jutta's there. She's stranded.
I think Ekstrom thought that Jutta hadn't seen the signal to release. And I think actually there was something in the car that Kleinschmidt hadn't got right, whether it was in the wrong position to be able to drive, whatever happened. She couldn't get away. She took an alternate line later in the race and actually was really close again come the end, but yeah, they lost it in the switch zone. What a shame.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll find out exactly what happened when we speak to our pit lane reporter, but look at that. Taylor crosses the line. Victory for Rosberg Racing.
Great first semi-final. Semi-final 2 will be interesting. I say P4 through to P6 going to be in that one. It's JBXE, Veloce Racing and Excite Energy Racing. Really keen as well to see the shootout race, which I think has the potential to be fire.
Oh, it certainly does, because we've got 3 teams in there who you would not have expected to be in there, quite frankly. So let's just recap the results from the first semi-final. It was Ekstrom, Kleinschmidt in 3rd, Loeb, Gutierrez 2nd, and Kristoffersen, Taylor in 1st place. The top 2 teams going through. So it's a battle that we've seen many times before, and we'll see many times in the future again. It is Lewis Hamilton's team versus Nico Rosberg's team on the beach in Senegal, going through to a place in the final. Congratulations. So you can see the sea there just in the background, a beautiful shot, but plastic just there in the foreground, and that is one of the purposes why we are here this weekend, to raise awareness of all of the problems that we're facing at the moment with the Ocean X Prix. If you want to find out more, you can, of course, log on to the website. But basically, the increase of greenhouse gases, see the temperatures rise, sea levels rise, storms and intensity of storms as well getting more of an issue. Now let's go back on board for the start of the race, and this is in the car with Loeb.
Yeah, so Loeb here got cars either side of him. At this point, he's pretty sure he's got, well, he was in turn 1 that he'd got Kristoffersen. Kristoffersen goes hyperdrive. Here's Loeb's hyperdrive. Look at the difference it makes. It's a massive increase in power.
4 seconds, isn't it, that it lasts?
Yeah, 4 seconds for 400 kilowatts. Ekstrom had got it the most right, though, Jenny. Look how far in front he is, 4 or 5 car lengths in front. Now Kristoffersen has gone way off to the left. Now you ride on board with Loeb. Loeb's thinking, thank you, P2's in the back. He knows the grass is on the inside. He knows Kristoffersen can't get through. Kristoffersen now, though, is in his rear quarter. There's the contact. Sandy can't see what's going on, and Kristoffersen is there and carries the pace around him into what's effectively turn 3 at the end of the straight, and takes P2, and at the same time Loeb gets a big gob full of sand in through the air vent.
Yeah, and this is where he loses so much time on the others, because he's just been forced offline. It's not where the car's been before. He's got to figure out how to try and get back on track, and the gap was just stretching out now. But it's fascinating to see that actually visibility very good. Even if you're the 3rd driver, you can see where you're going and you can try and find an alternate line. But everyone will be watching this to work out what they want to do for the future.
Well, we were seeing 30 seconds significant gaps between cars in Saudi because the dust was too bad for anybody to be too close. Here, the top three in semi-final one were covered by 3.24 seconds. It's absolutely nothing. I think as long as you can stay in touch to the switch zone and keep that pressure on, we saw what happened with the pressure in the switch zone this time round. That's absolutely key. But it is also possible to make that pass at the end of the straight. And I think you could do that out of the switch zone as well.
So you can see the cars, beautiful, bouncing around the Odyssey 21. It's a heavy car and you've got to be physically fit to be able to control it. The driver's having to wrestle the beast around this 6.1 kilometre course. But you can see they were trying to focus, trying to find a way, and it just wasn't to be for them, but they look beautiful out there in Senegal.
Yeah, great slow-mos over the crests here. As we've said already, the X44 car does look really good over the bumps, but you can't capitalise on that if you're not out in front. And I think if you can get the whole shot here, give yourself a bit of clear.
Time to go for our second race. Yes, it is going to be semi-final 2, and what a backdrop it is. You can see there, Lac Rose in Senegal, the home of the Ocean X Prix round 2 of the Extreme E Championship. And we are waiting to get excited about semi-final 2. Remember, there are 2 places left in the final, and 2 of these cars will go through. I'm Jenny Gow, Andrew Coley alongside me, Layla Anna Lee.
Semi-final 2 then. Another exciting lineup. We've got a few cars missing. They're going to see in the shootout later on today. But these 3 pairs of drivers are going to be trying to grab those last 2 spots in the final. Remember, it's a 4-car final. It's been interesting seeing 3 cars out in semi-final 1 already. When we get up to 4, it could be very exciting. Jamie Chadwick and Stefan Sarazan, Oliver Bennett and Christina GZ, Kevin Hansen and Michaela Arlin Kotlinski are the participants in this one.
We are on the grid ahead of semi-final 2 for our Ocean X Prix, and on my right, driving for JBXE, stepping in for team founder Jensen Button, is Kevin Hansen. This is the first time you're going to be racing up against your opponents. How are you doing?
I'm doing really great. You know, finally it's time for some rallycross action. It's door to door, and I think looking at the first semi, we have a good grid slot, and we have a plan for the race. So, I mean, it's all about getting in the top 2, and for sure I want to win the race. That's what I'm all about.
We're looking forward to watching you. Thank you very much. And across here, racing for Veloce, I believe, is Jamie Chadwick, ambassador for Girls on Track. Jamie, good to see you here. We're going to see a start out of you now. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, first time properly racing in Extreme E. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I don't really know what to expect. The first semi-final looked like a lot of fun. So, yeah, we'll just take this one as it comes and see how we go.
You mentioned the first semi-final looked like a lot of fun. I know you've been watching that closely. Any changes based on having seen that race?
I think where to use hyperdrive clearly is a bit of a factor. I think although you can follow here, it's hard to pass. So, yeah, track position looks to be quite important. But what that means, I don't really know.
Enjoy it. Thank you very much. And finally, on the pre-grid, racing here for Excite is Oliver Bennett. Hello, Oliver, if you don't mind raising that for me, thank you. How are you feeling? You're up against some brilliant opponents today.
Yeah, really excited. Obviously, raced Kevin before in the RX, but obviously first time with Jamie here. So I'm excited, just flat out for that turn 1, and let's see what happens.
You're saying flat out through that turn 1. Is that the key moment for you?
That's the key moment. I think, as we said in the race before, if you can get through that turn 1 in first place, it's difficult to overtake on this track. So that's got to be the aim.
We're looking forward to watching you. Thank you very much. And for you at home, semi-final 2 is coming up shortly.
So those are our competitors. Those are the people that from this paddock will give us a fantastic race for semi-final 2. Let's go down and find out what's happening in the command centre.
Welcome to the command centre. We are in Dakar, Senegal for our Ocean X Prix. It's time for semi-final 2. Let's meet the teams. Please welcome Team JBXE, Veloce Racing, and Excite Energy Racing. The teams are set and ready to race.
So who's got a plan then? Kevin Hansen has definitely got a plan, said he's looking forward finally to some rallycross. That, of course, is a reference to where he comes from. He's used to door-to-door action down to turn 1. Ollie Bennett comes from the same background, said it's going to be super important to use the hyperdrive in the right place. Jamie Chadwick looking really relaxed. Absolutely no stranger to a start either. Really, really looking forward to this. This is the first time, of course, we've seen Jamie Chadwick in a race start because she got no seat time at all in Saudi, and I can't wait to see what she can do in the mix here.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting. She obviously comes from a single-seater background, which means, as you say, she's done a lot of race starts. She's the W Series champion and the reigning champion at the moment. But it'll be fascinating to see how aggressive these drivers are. We saw already today that you have to go off there, you have to be committed, and if you end up touching, so be it. That's absolutely fine. No rules against it in this competition.
No, I think Chadwick will be wise to the fact that in the grid position she is in, they are likely to squeeze her, because if they can find enough traction to push her into that flag, she's got two choices: take the flag out and face the wrath of the stewards, or back off and lose the position. Christopherson, there was a tiny little nudge. I would say Loeb gave Christopherson a car's width, which was pretty gentlemanly of him. That's not to say that's going to happen here. You know, this could be a much more aggressive start. And then, of course, it's that long run to turn 1. Jamie said, didn't she, about the hyperdrive as well? Going to be really important.
It's interesting listening to her actually talking about hyperdrive, and she knows she's got to try and get out in front. You just can't actually plan for it because obviously you want to be out in front, but that's all you can do, isn't it? So very interesting times for the drivers. Let's go back down and find out what's going on in command.
Stefan, we see you here in the command centre ahead of semi-final 2. Choosing to put Jamie out first with her first start. Tell us why you made that decision.
Yeah, we decided to change compared to last time, and in driver change we are a bit quicker in this way, so we try for semi-final to be like that. I think it's a good choice, and she will be very quick.
A competitive semi-final, you've got your opponents either side of you. How are you feeling ahead of the race?
Yeah, it will be difficult. We need to push, good lap, no mistake, and we target the final for sure.
We're looking forward to it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sarazan giving a little hint there that they think that running Jamie first and him second will give them the best time. Of course, that's fine, but they've got to get to turn 1 first. And I think Jamie's well capable of that as well.
Yeah, and listening to them talking about the driver change, we've already seen today, it's so key to get that absolutely right. So let's see what they can do. You can see there Kevin Hansen replacing Jensen Button this weekend, just pulling on his straps and making sure it's nice and tight.
We're going to head down to the command centre and catch up with Ollie Bennett's teammate, Christine GZ.
Okay, 3 minutes.
Christine, you always have such wonderful energy ahead of the race. You don't seem nervous at all, am I right?
In the inside, yeah, a little bit. I don't do a lot of racing with other people next to me, so it's going to be interesting.
Oliver, however, does. He's out there looking forward to some door-to-door action.
He takes the go. I'm happy for that.
I'm assuming you watched the first semi-final, a very heated race. Did that make any changes for your plans?
Yeah, a few of them, but I can't tell you. I'll tell you after the race.
Fair enough. We'll watch it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I love that, and that's fair enough, isn't it? This is the thing when you know it's going out live, and the rest of the paddock's watching. Don't give away your secrets. But Christine GZ very happy for Ollie to take the start because, as she said, it's not something she's done. Now, she took part in the semi-finals, of course, in Saudi, but with the gaps between the cars by the time she took the wheel, she didn't actually have to race side by side. She will be hoping, of course, that Ollie comes in with a whole shot and gives her the lead at the switch zone, and then she's just got to hang on to it. And she's done loads of Baja racing and stuff. She'll be fine in the car on herself on her own, but not over the moon about having to race at this point. Needs to get a bit of practice on that.
Scott Elkins there, our race director, giving us a 2-minute warning. So make sure you've got your brew ready and you're good to go. We'll go down for another interview.
Michaela, you had a change of teammate for this race, but a guy who's very used to this kind of racing. How confident do you feel?
Very confident. Kevin is strong in the starts. He's falling out on the track, so feeling very confident.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Maybe. I think feeling a bit more nervous than confident, which is totally understandable. I get nervous before the semi-finals, so what the drivers feel like, there's a lot of pressure here. They all desperately want to make it to the final. I love the fact there are 2 cars going through now from semi-final 2. That's a change from last time. I also absolutely love this split screen that we've got. We're in the command centre now, and the second drivers in there waiting for their turn. Interesting that Christine GC is the only one who hasn't got her lid on yet. She's going to wait and just do the final prep, pull the race suit up.
1 minute.
In a little while. She's got 6-7 minutes. She's quite chilled about it. The others are literally, Jenny, ready to jump in the car now, and they don't have to do it for another 7 minutes, probably.
Not the most comfortable thing to wear, are
No,
they,
they're not.
race helmets?
Not at all.
I think she's done the right thing there. Not silly. That's for sure.
Yeah, if you're happy to wait, there's two ways of doing it. It's if you, the whole thing of doing it up, getting all the Velcro right, getting your gloves on, your balaclava, your hands device. It's actually the process. You do it in a certain order. You can get your gloves caught in the straps, and
30
so
seconds.
you don't want to leave it
30
so
seconds.
late that you're under extra stress. But she's obviously pretty chill.
Yeah, very chilled, but the tensions are about to rise. Here in Senegal, we are ready for the semi-final two. Remember, 2 cars go through, 2 laps, 1 for each driver.
15 seconds.
And this is where the nerves come in. This is where you have to focus on what you want to do and then adapt your game plan as you see the other cars go off. We are moments away. 3 cars, Veloce, Excite, JBXE, and they are off. The cars digging in. You can see that, trying to find some traction. It looks pretty equal. In fact, I think it's JBXE that have got the best start, and they are flying. So that's a great start for Kevin Hansen. He goes down towards the beach. You can see the 2 cars trying to catch him. This is the moment where they will deploy hyperdrive. It gives them an extra boost, 4 seconds of extra boost. Can they catch them? Can they claw them in? So it's Hansen, Chadwick, Bennett at the moment. And you can see there, Chadwick in the car. She is hammering it. She's trying to find a way around. This is the moment where you can really make an advantage. You can affect the rest of your race if you can get into this first turn first, and that's what they all want to do. It's Hansen leading the way, then Chadwick. Bennett uses his hyperdrive now. He wants to slingshot round the outside. Has he managed to do it? Not quite. So it is still the JBXE team that lead the way with Hansen at the wheel. Kevin doing a great job, but look at this, the tussle for second place is on. Which of the cars is going to get it? You've got to be aggressive. Chadwick knows what she's doing, and she has done that. She's defended the challenge. She has done a great job securing second place, so now Bennett needs to find a different way through.
Yeah, great stuff there from Chadwick. Bennett came late there with the hyperdrive. Chadwick went on the hyperdrive about halfway down the straight. Kevin Hansen, though, had got the perfect start. He had 8-9 car lengths. There was no way they were going to get back past. Chadwick using her hyperdrive. It was almost like, give me some space from Bennett. Bennett used it so late. I was actually surprised that he was able to get alongside her into turn 2 at the very end of the straight there. But he did, but he couldn't get past. And so at the minute, yeah, it's Kevin Hansen leading from Jamie Chadwick.
And look, this is where they'll get into the bump section. So they're going to be looking for a perfect lap. They don't want to make a mistake here, because that's where, as you can see, Jamie Chadwick just going a little bit wide. And look, there's a battle going through, but this is a big jump. Which one's going to come out first?
Bennett trying to come around the outside line there. I think he could have committed to that and just gone for it anyway. Chadwick was slow into the hairpin at the top of the hill. Bennett tried to go around the outside line there. Chadwick had just had the rear end of the car and kicked up high. It wasn't settled, so she couldn't get the car turned in like she wanted to. She had to wait. Bennett got the run on her. This is what we were talking about earlier on. If somebody makes a mistake and you can just get the run, I'm a little bit surprised Bennett didn't really send it over the side, but it would have been a big risk, Jenny. It's a big drop-off.
Tell you what, Hansen has got a substantial lead. You can see him going through the woods section. The others haven't even turned into that cut, but Veloce and Jamie Chadwick, she is being hunted down, and Ollie Bennett in the Excite Energy team is doing all he can to really try and pressure her. A mistake, whatever it is, he's got to find a way through, and he wants to do it as soon as possible.
Oh, he's looking again now. Bennett trying to find extra traction on the end there. I wonder if Chadwick's got some sort of an issue, because Bennett's all over the back of her at this moment. Almost got alongside again, but just too much wheel spin. He actually messaged just before the semi-final. He said the problem is that if you get onto the other tracks, they're still very dirty, and by that he means that you know, they haven't cleaned any sand off. The sand is deeper and they're a little bit slower, but he's going to try anything he can.
This is the first time as well that Jamie Chadwick has raced. Look at that sideways action for Hansen. He's having a whale of a time out in front. The lead now is extending and extending. He's doing a cracking job. But yeah, this is the first time Jamie Chadwick has raced one of these cars in anger. You can say the same for Kevin Hansen, but he's out front. He's got a lead. He's used to these sort of conditions in his driving experience. Jamie Chadwick doesn't have that, so she is literally hanging on, and Oliver Bennett has lots of experience. He's bringing through to this.
Yeah, Bennett's done plenty of World Rallycross in the background, so he comes from the off-road side of things. Chadwick's a mega racer, W Series champion. She will be able to hold him off, but Bennett takes the alternate line. Going to try and cut her off as he comes down over the crest. So he went for the dip over the side and tried to make it work, just not quite enough space. I'm loving the fact he's trying, though. I think it's possible.
Yeah, he's got to do something. He knows that. And look, the gap just coming in, out, in, out. And as they go through to this section, he's just trying to see if he can go wide again. But as you say, the sand is banked up. So where the ruts are, the cars have been making that happen for the last 2 days. This is a section where we've seen the cars doing jumps. They have to nail the landing, and it's all about how much traction you get compared to speed, and that balance has to be just right.
It's really wide here. This is one of the only sections that Bennett could have done it. He's just slightly too far back. Some ways the alternate line that he took maybe cost him a little bit. Going to have a look potentially into the right-hander as they go right, left, right onto the beach. There's the end of the course now. Where is he? He's on board with Bennett, bottom right, looking to try to find a way past Chadwick. And he looks up the inside, he's got her. Chadwick runs a little bit wide, they're side by side. Jamie might try and hold on now to the left-hander, but she can't. Jamie, Chadwick, you can see her in the car, muttered something, and I don't think it was... I don't think it was good news, let's put it that way. I say, Jamie looks to me like they've had a slight issue on this lap. Either way, Bennett is through as they go into the switch zone.
Great job from Ollie Bennett. He really gave it all with that Excite Energy Racing, just waiting for a mistake. And now Chadwick needs to do the same. She's got to come back at him hard. And the switch zone, we have seen already, this is vital to get right. Radiocoms issues before for the App Cupra team meant that they lost the lead of the race in this moment. So you can see 30 kilometers an hour for Kevin Hansen. He slows the car right down, agonisingly slowly.
24 seconds up the road, though, Jenny. You know, if they want to, they can have an issue here and still release in front of the others. It's been a great first lap by Kevin. It was a brilliant start. He was really careful, actually, on the brakes on the way in because he's got such a margin. Don't chuck it away by breaking the speed limit in the switch zone. So Kevin's going to jump out the car. Michaela Arling-Kotlinski is going to get in, and she will be very grateful for having a big lead because obviously Stefan Sarazan and Christine GZ are going to chase her down as hard as they can on this lap.
Yep, so as ever, the cars come in, the drivers do the switch over. As you saw already, Michaela Arling-Kotlinski getting in for the JBXC team, and then Chadwick crosses over to Sarazan, and in the other car, you got Oliver Bennett.
Listen if we can see hear anything from Chadwick. No, okay, so Chadwick's walking back out of the switch zone. I wondered if she would say anything to Stefan if they had an issue. So maybe not a problem with the car, maybe just a mistake up at that right-hander. That's one of the widest parts on the track, Jenny. I did wonder if Ollie might try and move there. He did. Arling-Kotlinski has been released already for JBXC. Jenson Button will have had an early morning if he's watching this, but I'm hoping that he is.
He will definitely be watching. He is fully invested in this championship, and he'll be back at home in LA, sweating massively, worrying about what's happening. So you can see the driver changes have happened. They have to wait for 45 seconds. This is the overtake. If you look down bottom right, this is where Bennett gets past Chadwick, forces her wide, takes the inside line. There's nothing Chadwick can do to fight back.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see it from further back before the corner if Chadwick was too late on the brakes and that was why she was wide of the apex, or exactly what happened. So this now then, Stefan Sarazan versus Christine GZ. Sarazan with experience in WEC, experience in F1, but crucially experience in WRC as well. He is very well prepared for both the off-road conditions and the racing. Christine GZ said just before the race, I'm not used to racing side by side. All she's got to do, Jenny, is keep the door closed.
Yep, and that team now using their hyperdrive, they've just come to the end. That's to try and protect their second place at the moment. So they go into the second place as well, switch right and go inland and away from the Atlantic Ocean towards Lac Rose. So you can see the sand flicking up. She just gets a little bit of over-rotation on the rear end of that. But Sarazan taking a very wide line. You're right, the car doesn't seem to be flowing at all, does it?
No, Sarazan's had either made a mistake or had a problem at the end of the straight there. So it's hard to see. Obviously, we're on air, we're only ever really looking at pictures and trying to figure out what's happened. Sometimes we have a good idea, other times not so much. To me, Chadwick looked like she was struggling just a little bit, and Sarazan at the end of the straight, definitely a mistake. I wonder if he used hyperdrive late and then maybe late on the brakes at the end of it. The other thing, I wonder if Sarazan might save hyperdrive for the run to the finish line, Jenny, because that, to me, is another place you could overtake. If you're not going to get the whole shot, if you know you've lost the start, he's coming out P3. Christine used hers going down the straight. He will probably close the gap down to Christine. You come out the last corner, you hit hyperdrive, and you blast past her on the run to the line.
Just a reminder, the top two of this semi-final go through into the main final. They can win the Ocean X Prix. So this is a real battle between GZ and Sarazan to see which one of them goes through and continues.
Daniel Abt is in the paddock for us. Daniel, from your point of view, what can Sarazan do here to try and claim that place back for Veloce?
Yeah, hi guys again. Well, I think first of all he needs to close the gap and really push. I think he has the pace to do so, but we've seen that even though there's the possibility to take different lines, it's not so easy. It's really, you really need to be a lot quicker in order to be able to overtake on a different line. So there's not many options. I mean, either he takes a lot of risk or he waits for the last straight to be really close and then maybe have a bit better traction. So not easy job, but I think it's not impossible for him.
I think the attack is coming on again. You can see Sarazan just bringing that gap in all the time. When it comes to the Hansen, Arlen, Kotelinski, they are leading the way. Impressed by the way Kevin's jumped in the car for Jenson Button's team this weekend.
So Arlen Kotelinski continues. She is 25 seconds up the road, so she's managed to maintain that gap now. Christine GZ had a little bit of a wild ride through that last section with Sarazan right behind. Sarazan, I thought, was going to take an alternate line, but didn't. You're on board now with Michaela. Visor down, full concentration. She can afford to limit the risk, and they are 100% through. You know, now that let's not have a big impact. Let's not roll the car.
Don't commentate to curse it.
Yeah, just get it through to the finish. She will know that, coming in with such a fantastic lead. Last time, Jenny, the three cars came in within 3 seconds of each other in semi-final 1, but not so this time. Christine GZ clips a flag on the outside. Sarazan takes an alternate line from Veloce. He's going to try and carry the speed now. Comes back in, makes the cutback, going to get alongside Christine GZ. Sarazan risks it over the crest, trying to send it round the outside line. Rear bodywork hanging off Christine GZ's car. It's narrow into this braking zone. Sarazan gets it done. Aggressive move with an alternate line. Better exit speed. 2 cars through a gate that only looks wide enough for 1. Great move.
Yeah, Veloce really nailed it there with Sarazan. He had to be aggressive. He knew that. There weren't many opportunities. The alternate line, though, you can see GZ's had to think of something else to do. She's gone wide. She's going to try and do a switch back and see if she can be out in front. But we've seen that only once so far this weekend. And look how much time she has lost. The alternate line has not helped. I wonder if there's any damage to that car. The rear bodywork seems to be damaged. Nothing else seems to be hanging off too badly. But look, it's just rubbing against the tyre. That's not going to be ideal.
So you're on board with Christine GZ now. I'm wondering where JBXE are. There's Veloce coming through in P2. Sarazan's gone slowly. No, Stefan Sarazan's got to slow down in that corner. That's the same corner that Chadwick got passed by Bennett by. I wonder if they got an issue. Side by side, Christine GZ trying to make the pass now. She's into the door of Sarazan. He slams the door in her face. Coming into the left-hander. This is for the last place in the final. Christine GZ might be able to claim it back. There's definitely a problem for Veloce. Michaela Arlen Kotelinski takes the win for JBXE. Her and Kevin Hansen are through to the final, but it's all about the battle for P2. You're on board now with Sarazan looking back. Christine GZ trying to find a way past on the inside line. Bucks the rear end of the car up high. Sarazan seems to have carried enough speed. It's going to be a drag race down to the finish line. He did save his hyperdrive. Sarazan had a plan the whole way. He would have used that for a pass if he needed it, but he got the pass done early, and Stefan Sarazan and Jamie Chadwick go through to the final for Veloce. What a great redemption for them from Saudi Arabia. Christine GZ put up a hell of a fight, but she gets P3 with Ollie Bennett. That's a great semi-final.
That was a rock and roll semi-final. That was like a Dodge Derby out there. So much contact. We haven't seen these cars really out in anger. That's the first race, I think, that we've seen it in the semi-final. And look at that, the joy for that team. Jenson Button will be overjoyed with his driver selection. Kevin Hansen handing over to Michaela Arlen Kotelinski. What a job they have done. She puts her thumb up. No surprise at all.
So it's P3 for Bennett and Christine GZ. Chadwick and Sarazan holding on to P2 with a brilliant pass on that second lap, and I think definitely an issue for those guys, so they've done well to make it to the final. But it's Kevin Hansen and Michaela Arlen Kotelinski who take the win for JBXE. Top 2 go through. Weekend is over, I'm afraid, for Excite Racing. Wow.
Whew. I think we only gather our breath after that. What a roller coaster ride it was. What pure aggression you have to deliver if you're going to get past anybody. Let's go down to the beach side and find out exactly how the drivers are feeling.
Taking the baton from Jenson Button and coming in and making the most amazing debut. A 22-second lead on your first lap. The smile on your face says it all.
Yeah, I mean, what a great start we had. And after turn 1, I heard just the gap increasing all the time. Such a nice feeling to leave it over to Michaela with a good gap so she can take it her pace and bring it home for us. I mean, JBXE in the final, taking over from Jenson this race is, you know, such a blast. And I'm really happy to bring bring the team to the main race.
You were sat in your car on the grid, very relaxed, with a very clear game plan in your mind. Did it all go to plan?
Went exactly to plan, and that's really nice. That's not a common thing in rallycross that it goes to plan, so I'm happy it did it here, and now it's head downs for the final this afternoon.
We'll look forward to watching you in the final. Congrats.
Thank you, thank you.
Wow, what a debut run for Kevin Hansen. His brother Timmy Hansen is also involved in Extreme on a permanent basis. Kevin's coming as a substitute. It's his birthday weekend, turning 23 just a couple of days ago. Said they had a plan for the race, and I think that's as immaculate as you can get when it comes to having a plan and managing to get it away.
Right, this is this Sarazan and Christine GZ? I think it is. It's on lap 2 because you can see the damage on Christine GZ's rear quarter. So Sarazan did brilliantly well there to get through. What I'm interested in, Jenny, is that both times in the right-hander at the end of the course, where Jamie Chadwick looked like she'd mysteriously run wide. You know, she's a class act, and I wouldn't expect her to do that. But then the same issue, the car looked like it had bogged again for Stefan Sarazan. So just sometimes you can have an issue with a car where when you're making a right or a left turn that something is moving in the car, and yeah, it can be an electrical issue, something mechanical, which means that the car isn't doing so well in that turn. So was that corner a problem? And if it was, they've got to get it fixed before the final.
Yep, all very stressful times for them. Let's go and find out and hear a little bit from Veloce themselves. What's going on?
Jamie, I think the word intense is probably as well as we can describe that. How was it for you? Talk me through that first straight.
The first straight was all right, and then I thought I was in quite a nice position, but I kept having the pit limiter kept sort of activating exit of corners, so every time I feel a bit more comfortable, unfortunately Oliver would get close, and then he made contact a few times because of that. I think he didn't know that obviously I had an issue, so yeah, a bit stressful. I let him go in the end, and then Steph obviously brought it home in second, so yeah, through to the final, but a little bit hairy.
And John? Hello, can we have a couple of words from you, because that was absolutely insane?
Yeah, sure. It was a fantastic race. I think the target was to finish in the top 2 to be able to go in the final. Unfortunately, we could see Jamie had a problem and Stefan carried on the problem. So I think they did amazing to understand very quickly that it was the pit limiter button that had a problem. So yeah, definitely a lot more pace for us in the final, and we're all very happy to be in the final after the first weekend where we could not race in Saudi. So, very pleased with the team and the work they've done. Now, let's regroup, focus on the final, and try and find a solution for the problem we had.
Congratulations, we'll see you in the final.
This is another look at the start on the inside line. Chadwick got pretty good traction, but Kevin Hansen had just done it really nicely, and he did leave her, to be fair, he left a car's width on the inside line. But then look at the distance he had at the end of the straight. I was actually surprised to see Bennett get back to Chadwick, but if Chadwick was already having issues with the pit lane speed limiter, then potentially that was why.
So that knocks the car down to 30 kilometres per hour. We've heard some people having hit it during the racing, so I wonder if they need to protect it or if it's a fault that they seem to have, which it's switching on automatically. But either way, what fantastic racing. You can see the duel in the dust as they come through, fighting it out. Such aggression, such commitment to them as well. This was the switch zone, pretty clear switch for everybody, and Kevin Hansen giving such a lead to Michaela Arlen-Kotelinski. She still had to go round and do the job. She impressed everybody. She's come on leaps and bounds, and this is just a great platform for her to showcase her talents.
Yeah, she maintained the gap nicely on that second run. Good to get into that position where you don't have so much pressure. This was where Sarazan made the move, and it was interesting. The alternate line was what seemed to give him the run on Christine GZ, and then it was just a case of getting alongside and saying, I am coming through. And that's where Christine was saying herself, I need to do a bit more racing, and potentially that's something she'll focus on before the next event. Remember, they've got a few weeks to go and do some racing. Get your head into it.
Yeah, what a fantastic race too, as you see him crossing the finish line. Let's go back and find out another little bit of information from the interview room.
Oliver, you were neck and neck with Veloce throughout. Not the result you wanted, but you certainly gave us the entertainment.
Yeah, it's not quite the result we wanted. I mean, it was hard to get track position there. You could see I was trying a few different places to try and get in the Veloce car, but managed to towards the end of the lap. But yeah, it was a good fun race. I really enjoyed it. It was great to be battling with some cars. Super fun. So yeah, it was great.
Great to still see a smile on your face. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Right, disappointment for Bennett not making it through with his teammate. But 2 great semi-finals anyway. Beautiful Atlantic Ocean alongside this fantastic racetrack. Right, 2 semi-finals done. We've got a shootout and a final still to come later on. Brilliant action so far. Loving it.
fascinating. Just fascinating. Let's have a further look at what happened during that race, because this is the start for Kevin Hansen. And I just want to listen in a little bit to see where he got his traction, and did he use hyperdrive?
Yeah, it's when he used hyperdrive, isn't it? Let's see if we hear. No, we're not going to hear. So I think there, Jenny, if you look at the sudden increase in pace, it's visible. It is a huge boost. This is what some of the drivers have told us. It's not just a little bit. It is like a night and day. It's like a switch. So only for 4 seconds, crucial we use it at the right point here. Yeah, we've learned it's only really the start-finish straight. What's interesting is that Sarazan have been so clever. And I think, again, you think about it now, in the final, it's one of the only places to pass. If you don't win the start, you might as well sit in the train. As long as you're not behind somebody you know is slower and someone's going to check out on the front, you know, you're in a great position to use it at the finish.
Well, plenty more action still to come. We've had semi-final 1, we've had semi-final 2. The shootout for points is still to come, and I tell you what, it's a cracking lineup.
Yeah, it's an incredible lineup.
Daniel Abt is still with us. Daniel, you're here with the Abt Cupra team, obviously. Just talk us through what happened in your semi-final, because, I mean, Mattias Ekström had a fantastic start, but unfortunately, you've been knocked out.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's fair to say that everyone on the team is pretty disappointed about the outcome, because both our drivers have done really, really well. Mattias was the quickest male driver, and Jutta was the quickest female driver. So they performed on track, but unfortunately, during the pit stop, the radio failed, and from the angle that the car was placed, and Jutta was not able to properly see the mechanics, so she wasn't aware if she could leave or not, and therefore just went too late, basically, trying to still make it up. You could see they were taking different lines and also quite some risk, and she was actually, you know, in the end I think only 9 tenths behind P2, so she was fast, but yeah, it's a shame. I think we should have won this one, and yeah, like this we're not in the final and need to watch.
Thanks, Daniel. Much appreciated your input from the paddock. As we take another look at Beach Straight, that has got to be one of the best motor racing settings ever, I think. That's track width, and look, the tide is almost in, Jenny.
Yeah, and if you see that flag we're just flown over, that's where a lot of the people are using their hyperdrive, just as they're starting to go through there. That's where the traction seems to be at the best, and you can utilise it on that nice flat bit of sand, the very best resource.
And what about the fact this afternoon the tide goes out? And that was something that Johan Kristoffersen was aware of. You know, they're doing their research on when the tide goes out, because they might be able to use that damp sand down towards the edge of the beach. Hopefully they won't head in far enough that they'll need a boat, and they're going to need to be a bit careful, aren't they?
So many different tactics. The teams have really had to work together, and that's what was exciting about Extreme E. You've got this duo of drivers. So you've got Bennett and GZ, unfortunately not being able to get the win today, just not going for them, 43-24 behind. Chadwick Sarazan do go through, though, in that Veloce car, and then it was Hansen and Arlen Kotelinski who won their heats. Doesn't really make too much of a difference, actually, if you come first or second. You've just got to finish in the top 2 to go through.
Yeah, you have got to get in there. Of course, we've now got to see what happens with regard to who's taking the start come the final. This is a bit of an update for you on the Drivers' Championship. Molly Taylor, Johan Kristoffersen, of course, equal on points on 46. Gutierrez and Loeb on 42. Those driver points will stay the same, assuming, of course, you don't change teammates. So Mattias Ekström and Claudia Hurtgen now will have different points. I'm not quite sure what happens with championship drivers with regard to whether or not you end up with championship points if you step in for the weekend. There's Christine G. You look ahead of Mattias Ekström, Timmy Hansen, Katie Munnings. They've had a rough weekend. Andretti United, also Leia Sands and Carlos Sainz. But we're going to see them race later on, and I'm really excited to see that race, actually, Jenny. The shootout later on has got a lineup which would be worthy of a final.
I think there's going to be some big jumps as well, up and down the tables. Some big losers this weekend, but also some people that are really going to shoot up the order. So I think it's a really exciting background. And just talking about the starts, I've just done a little bit of looking at it. I think it should be Taylor for the RXR team, Gutierrez for X44, Arlen Kotelinski for JBXE, and for Veloce Sarazan. I think that will be the people starting the racing, and I think that's fascinating. We disagreed, Andrew, earlier on this year, didn't we? About all sorts of things. We'll come back to that.
Got to have a discussion always.
But what we don't disagree on is the Extreme E Countess In Challenge. vital and important, and X44 are the ones leading the way. This is the steps you can do to make a difference, and you can support a team by making a step as well. And you can see Rosberg just behind him, so it kind of replicates a little bit what we've seen in the racing as well. Good stuff. So that's what we've got here at XC. Planning to leave behind in Senegal? That's the question mark. What is it? We'll let you know now.
At each race, Extreme E is working with organisations on environmental projects to leave behind a positive legacy in each location. With the focus here on the health of our oceans, they have teamed up with Senegalese association Oceanium. Together they will plant 1 million mangrove trees in an effort to help reforest and sustain this incredible ecosystem.
Now, mangroves are really, really interesting. They're these plants that have adapted to living in salty water, very high temperatures, and what is seemingly an inhabitable space. One of the biggest roles of mangroves is that they take carbon dioxide from the atmosphere and they store it in their roots and in the ground. If we deforest an area, especially somewhere like a mangrove, it means that we're releasing that carbon dioxide back into the atmosphere. They're also really important for protecting the coastal area. If you can imagine that there's a community living behind a mangrove habitat, they live in equilibrium because the mangrove protects that community from storm surges or really big waves.
La mangrove a une importance capitale dont beaucoup de personnes ne connaissent pas. La population de Joal-Fadiout, ils travaillent que dans la mangrove. Ils cherchent des huîtres, ils cherchent des jarches. C'est ça qu'ils payent leurs scolarités de leurs enfants. Pour moi, c'est une grande importance de reboiser la mangrove. Avec les partenaires Extreme, on a travaillé la saison dernière. On a fait 65 hectares. Donc on a fait travailler beaucoup de jeunes et le projet, c'était une très bonne chose pour la population de Joal-Fadiout.
The great thing about having the drivers come through is they have a platform to be able to amplify the amazing work going on, but also highlighting some of the issues that are happening on the ground.
This is really cool that we're incorporating racing and also doing good for the environment and the world itself.
I've never done anything like this. To go to a place and we leave a positive mark, that's just amazing and a unique thing for Extreme E.
We come here, we plant the mangroves, and understanding the importance of the mangroves, I have to say, I knew that they were important, but understanding and listening now how they're so important for the community, for the environment, it feels really good to be part of this.
I'm done! It's pretty incredible what these plants do, and learning about it and being able to plant it and hopefully come back in a year and see its first leaf is going to be pretty rewarding.
Amazing views here in Senegal. Semi-finals 1 and 2 done and dusted. We've got our 4 cars going through to the final. There is the result. You can see Christopherson, Taylor for RXR, Loeb, Gutierrez for X44 going through from Semi-1, Hansen, Arlen, Kotlinski, Sarazan and Chadwick going through for JB, XE and Veloce. There's your lineup on the right-hand side of the screen for the final. Don't forget we've got the shootout later on as well for championship positions, expecting that one to be pure fire.
Yeah, it's going to be really good. 3 of the big hitters in this championship finding themselves for different reasons in the bottom 3, and now they'll fight for points. But this is going to be a really exciting race because we've already seen the battles out there that you can have. This is the Veloce fight as they were going out there with full beams across the Excite Energy team, and they're really clashing hard here. This is brutal racing.
Look, if you're going to make a pass here, Jenny, it's going to be what I would describe as assertive. That is what you would. That's how you'd sell it to the stewards. Yes, I maybe touched them a little bit, but. And for me, the move was absolutely bang on. Sarazan was 100% alongside Christine GZ, and that means if you're 100% alongside, you're free to take the move. This was Christine GZ leading. Now watch Sarazan goes off here, completely the other side of what's a pretty large tree, to be fair.
Where's he going?
Look at this. Look now. So Christine then has to put more lock on the exit. So you ride on board with Christine GZ. Here she goes. She goes right, Sarazan goes left. Now she needs to make it back across to the right-hand side. Meanwhile, Sarazan is on a straight line. He's alongside her. He goes over this crest next to her. You just saw the front left corner of his car. And as they come up here, this gate is 2 cars wide. The next one's only 1, but he's already there. Look, and in fact, he's 25% in front. The move's on 100%.
Yeah, so carry more pace in,
Yeah.
so we can deliver that overtake, and then just to have to try and defend like crazy going into those last few flags. We're at 27, so still a little way to go before he can get out onto the beach. And you can see just here, just looking for different options. That's all GZ could do. She's taken the long slot round, but unfortunately it wasn't to work for her. So just a recap of those results. It was Hansen, Arlen Kosolinski for JBXE winning their heat and their semi-final. Chadwick Sarazan go through as well to the final, and then Bennett and GZ couldn't go through, unfortunately for them. So a disappointing weekend. But tell you what, they'll pick themselves up and come back even stronger next time out when we go to the Arctic. So just a reminder, we are here for the Ocean X Prix, and this is all about what we can do to leave a better place behind us. The Living Lab, all about trying to make a better place as we leave it. Make sure you come back later on. It will be the final as we see who will win the Ocean X Prix.